We always rely on our looks to get us through.
You guys, pretty boy.
Mary.
Hey, Mary.
All right, we're live, guys. I want to welcome everybody to Corvettes of Carlisle this year, and we have a special presentation today with two incredible individuals that are obviously a humongous part of Corvette and help lead the charge. So everybody knows Harlan Charles and Tadge Jeuchter. Tadge, I always say I'm not so sure how to answer people's questions when they say, what are their titles now? Obviously, there's a lot of questions out there. There's a bunch of articles. It's easier to have you guys provide your titles if you wouldn't mind. So we'll start with you, Tadge, your title. And
it can be confusing inside General Motors. We have all these different titles for people, and on the outside, if you're not used to what it means, it's hard to picture what people's actual job is. So my title is Executive Chief Engineer for the Corvette, has been for a long time. There might be a little bit of wondering going on out there because there's a scattering of stories about internal organizational change that happened just this week, actually just 2 days ago, where GM is taking the whole Corvette team, so me and Harlan and everybody who works on Corvette, all the engineers, everybody who supports us, and we're moving that team under a different part of the organization, the part of the organization that's working on future battery electric vehicles, or BEVs. The logic there is we really want to have a team that really understands vehicle passion, bringing that passion to at least some of our future portfolio. Our CEO, Mary Barr, has said many times, and it's a corporate mission, to get to 0, 0, 0, zero emissions, zero crashes, zero congestion. And so part of that zero emissions is somewhere down the road, long term, we want to get to a zero emissions state. So that means battery electric vehicles, but we want to do some that really emphasize the joy of driving, people who really like to drive. And there's some good things about battery electric vehicles, but it's also very challenging to do vehicles with character, with spirit, that are distinct driving experiences. And that's what Corvette certainly offers. So we want to try to bring that to that side of the organization, but it in no way compromises either the Corvette team. I got some letters of consolation saying, oh, I'm sorry you're losing your team. I'm sorry you're losing your engineers. That's not true at all. If anything, we're gaining engineers and more capability from that part of the organization. And just to be perfectly clear, a lot of people think, oh, this means Corvette, that they're going to be electrified right away. Actually, the C8 portfolio, we've introduced the 2020 Stingray, and we've got a lot more coming. As Mark Royce said at the reveal, we're just getting started on Corvette. None of that changes. We plan this stuff literally a decade in advance. And so that's going to continue exactly as we had planned, only with more capability behind that. Kind of behind the scenes, my job title doesn't change. I have a few things that are a little bit different underneath me. Ed Piatek was my chief engineer as we developed the C8. And then we had Josh Holder, who was my program engineering manager, who's been on Corvette a long time and is a huge contributor and knows the car bumper to bumper better than anybody. This is actually an opportunity for us to promote Josh to being a chief engineer status, so a little higher in the organization. And so he's now the chief engineer of Corvette, and I'm keeping Ed Piatek with me. So now I'll have two chief engineers. So I'm not losing people, I'm actually gaining. And Ed is going to focus on future projects. So that kind of aspirational downstream, what can we do with all the capability that General Motors has to move towards a zero emissions future in the battery electric space. So we're all pretty excited about here. I know there has been articles saying, oh, the Corvette team is sad about this. We're not sad about this at all. We have all our plans intact. We have all our people intact. We're just being asked to help out across a broader spectrum of the General Motors portfolio.
Great. And Harlan, your title.
I'm still a Corvette product manager and also for Camaro as well. And like Tadge said, we may be asked to share our knowledge with some of the new things coming down the road. But This would have been my 20th Carlisle in a row. Sorry to not be there live, although it looks like we have a good crowd behind me. But no, I really want to thank everybody that came and to Carlisle and keeping the passion going. Great friends over the years met there. Look forward to seeing everybody. Hopefully we can be back like we usually are in a big presence next year.
We hope so too. It's been a difficult year for sure. And this year, I got to tell you, it's the most dedicated individuals that you'll ever see that are supporting Corvette. I can tell you it's, it certainly hasn't been the biggest year for Corvettes at Carlisle, but I got to tell you, the people are constantly coming up and just saying, thank you for hosting the event. We appreciate it. We're behind you. And that's what Corvette's all about, the camaraderie. And it's just great. It surrounds the car, but truly it's the people, as you guys well know. So thank you for all your support through the years.
Oh, thanks. It's interesting to see some of the videos go viral already. There's one on Outfielders. One got one of the first convertibles, maybe the first delivered to a customer, and it shows everybody how to work the convertible top. And that's really gone viral over a lot of forms of media I've seen already from Carlisle.
That's great. And I know you guys have a presentation to provide. Before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know, if you do have questions, you can hit us on social media and they will be texting me those questions. So in the meantime, you're going to have a little bit of time to watch this great presentation they have on hand. And I believe Harlan's going to fire that off here shortly.
Harlan will bring it up and I'll kick it off, and then we'll go back and forth, just like we usually do in front of the stage there in Carlisle, where we go back and forth and do a vehicle walk around. Not just Carlisle, but all the summer events this year. It feels so strange for us not to be there in person. Last year we were there and basically had a handful of cars. We had revealed the car just the prior month. And so everybody was super excited about the potential. And many of us were looking forward to this year where real customers would have their cars. We've made over 8,000 of them in spite of the UAW work stoppage and the pandemic plant closure. So we were really looking forward to being able to get face to face with customers around their cars, because that's when you hear the real truth about what they think, what they appreciate, and what they think we could do better. That's where we get a lot of our information and ideas for future products. So we're really missing out by having to do this virtually. Harlan and I have done a bunch of these this summer, just not the same. We really like to be out there and rubbing elbows with people and talk to them about their cars. So we have a brief presentation. We're going to go over a few things about where the car is and looking forward to 21 model year. So like I said, we introduced the car last year and we basically ran the table, clean sweep of the major awards in the automotive industry, not just for sports cars, but all cars in general, including Motor Trend Car of the Year, Car and Driver 10 Best, Automobile All-Stars. You can see them all around the edge here. A lot of awards, and they keep coming. If we go to the next slide, most recently, and I should say we just started shipping convertibles. And so a bunch of us have been driving our captured test fleet, or our pre-production cars. We've been driving these convertibles, and the car has really converted a bunch of us. A lot of us were kind of hardcore coupe people. We'd be dedicated. We'd buy our own cars, buy a coupe. But this convertible is a game changer. It's got all the looks of the coupe. It's got 16-second access to open air. There's almost no drive too short not to put the top down. You can drive to the end of the driveway, put the top down, then put it back up. It's just a joy. You never have to worry about having to rearrange luggage or anything. Top down driving is always a button push away, and the whole luggage volume is essentially the same as the coupe, so you don't lose that. So a lot of us who were hardcore coupe folks are thinking, man, this convertible is the car for me. So we think people are really going to like it. They're just, the first ones are just getting delivered now, and it's starting to win its own awards individually. So digital trends here.
It's really the best road trip car you could have. I mean, say you're leaving someplace in the winter, you're heading down south, you have your car packed up for vacation. You can, as soon as it gets warm enough, you can just drop the top. You don't have to rearrange anything. No partitions, none of that anymore. And it looks so exotic, top up and top down. I think it's beautiful in both configurations as well.
Yeah, I have to admit it. Sometimes I show off. I put the top up and down more than I need to, because the giant panels swinging, the way the top folds in, people think you're from the future when they see this thing. It's like a transformer coming at you. So the bottom line on this digital trends one is the result is a Corvette priced like a sports car with the performance and looks of a supercar.
Yeah, and actually the only real competitors we have for a retractable hardtop mid-engine supercar are Ferrari and McLaren, and those cars are triple the price of ours.
It's a bargain. So here's an article from the Wall Street Journal from Dan Neal. Dan is one of the most respected journalists in all of journalism, actually, although he specializes as auto critic. He actually won a Pulitzer Prize some years back. And you can see what he said. Oh my God, the 2020 Corvette Stingray Z51 is fantastic. I don't think I can take many more surprises this year. He said the hand wrap leather interior included in the 3LT package rivals anything in Lambo's supply chain. I couldn't be more taken off my feet if GM CEO Mary Barra knocked on my door offering to mow my lawn. Stingray's anatomy resembles that of a Ferrari 488 GTP, which is $330,000 to start, easily to make it more expensive than that. But taking all things in balance, the Chevy beats the snot out of it. And actually, if you look at our construction, it's more exotic than the Ferrari. The Ferrari's pretty much all aluminum car, aluminum structure, aluminum panels. We do aluminum structure and composite panels, like the extreme high-end vehicles or race cars are built more like that. So in some ways, we have a more premium construction. So really great to hear compliments like that from someone like Dan. And I should say, he was driving the 3LT package. I think we've heard from a lot of people that starting at the base car, the $60,000 car, even a 1LT looks very premium, and 2LT as well. Even the less expensive entries are still very premium execution with real quality materials. Next slide. So Paul Stanley, some of you may know him as a frontman for KISS. He's more recognizable on the right-hand picture than the left-hand picture. He posted, he said, for years the auto industry has said, buy American. I said, when you manufacture world-class cars, I will buy them. For me, the 2020 Corvette C8 is beyond that. It raises the bar, and with cutting-edge technology, it's a machine that I'm proud to drive, and it's drop-dead gorgeous. I love mine, in caps. And I saw some speculation on the internet that GM probably gave him one so we could get these kind of reviews. That is not true. We're not giving anybody these cars. We worked too hard on them to just give them away. So he ordered his and bought it with his own money. So it's an honest assessment there.
We always say the Corvette makes you feel like a rock star, even if you already are one.
Even when he's not on stage, he's a rock star. This was a nice milestone, just happened August 14th. We built our 1.75 millionth Corvette starting from 1953. Of course, it was white on the outside, red on the inside, like all 300 1953 Corvettes. I can remember the millionth coming offline. It was a pretty big event. There's a bunch of people there. That was in 1992. That was the year before I came to Corvette. Little did I know I'd be here talking to you and celebrating 1.75 million. And hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll have 2 million under our belt. The 1.5 millionth, I remember that very well, 2009 model. Also white with red interior. And the one that just came offline is actually being auctioned by the National Corvette Museum next Friday. So that's going to go to a really good cause. And I hear the ticket sales are strong. Next slide. Speaking of the museum, USA Today named it as one of the top automotive fan tourist destinations. anybody who's been there knows it's kind of a mecca for Corvette people, and you'll see a lot of non-Corvette people walking around there too. The museum just gets better and better every year. It keeps changing. It's not always the same. So they bring in different kind of displays for people to look at. So you have people coming back time and again to take a look. But here's a national recognition for the Corvette Museum, which it's really cool because it's right across the street essentially from the plant. So you have the manufacturer and then the museum right across the street. And of course, we have lots of people taking advantage of the fact that you can take museum delivery on their C8 Corvettes. So it never has to go on a car hauler or a railway, a train or anything. It just, you pick it up right there where it's built and drive it away. Next slide.
Yeah, let me talk about this is our luxury sports car segment. And even though it's been a pretty tough year for production, with COVID, the plant was down for several months and we're trying to ramp up to speed. Even with all that, still solidly in first place, we own this segment with the new Corvette. And it's only going to grow from here as we start to ramp up to full production potential for the new car. And but it's good to see we were able to maintain, even through some tough times, we're able to maintain or control the segment. And it's nowhere to go but up from here, obviously.
Yeah, this is our volume is strictly a function of our capability to build them. So with the strike and the pandemic shutdown, our volumes are not any expression of what the demand is. The demand is huge. The other competitors there, they could build more cars. That's just their demand. So as we get the second shift up and running, and I should mention that we've actually onboarded just about everybody at Bowling Green to staff a second shift. We've been working the first shift hard, been working overtime actually. So once we get our feet under us on that, we feel ready and our suppliers are ready to take on second shift. So that'll be happening really over just the next couple of weeks. So you'll see a big increase in our capability to produce cars. And we're desperate to produce as many of these cars as possible. I know we had to disappoint some people, for things that were really out of our control, that ordered 2020s that we're not going to be able to build. But we actually extended the model year. We're bringing on the second shift as quickly as we can because we want to make sure that we build as many customer cars as we can before we get to 2021. Yeah,
and everybody always likes to see how the colors are doing. Torch red has really been the big choice this year. The car looks beautiful in that color, and of course our first reveal car was really focused on the torch red, and always been a Corvette classic color. You see the orange doing really well. The Accelerate and the Zeus had a little bit of a later start in the color rollout, so I think they'll probably come up a little bit as we go. On the interiors, of course, black is always the most popular, but a lot of people going for the adrenaline red and the natural as well. And then the seatbelt colors are something new. We had red before, and we really expand the palette, and to see them all doing pretty well really is a great accent for the car. I think, Tadge, you had the yellow in yours, right?
Yeah, I'm driving a yellow car with black interior with yellow stitch. Super striking vehicle, of course, yellow calipers as well, and yellow belts. And I've had people, usually kids, coming up in the car, they see this brand new mid-engine sports car, convertible, top down, and what freaks them out is that it has yellow seat belts, and they really pop in the interior. But I've had people come up, and that's the first thing they point out. Oh my God, it has yellow belts. So it's pretty funny what a seemingly small thing can really attract a lot of attention.
So let's talk a little about Corvette racing. This is a great picture that was taken at Sebring when we introduced the 8th generation race car. You can see all 8 generations represented by a racing car of their era. Of course, we have a lot of yellow on there, but it is cool, a very cool picture that Richard Prince took to see all these, all the 8 generations together. And since the racing season restarted, we're undefeated, 4 wins in a row, although they all came in different types of ways, through either the rainstorm or a competitor having a tire problem. But it just shows the consistency of our Corvette team, never give up. And we've been there at the end 4 times in a row. And hopefully this trend will keep going throughout the season. We got next week, Road Atlanta coming up, and the rest of the schedule. You can see the 12-hour Sebring that was moved to the end of the year. So it's great to see the racing season back underway and to see us having such great success with the new race car so far. After the first win coming back, this was the first win for the C8R race car. We did run this cool ad, moving the engine back, push the Corvette forward, and it was great to get the Chevrolet support to promote our first win as well. You may have also seen, if you're watching the races, our new pace cars. This is the IMSA pace car, at the Corvette races. And what design wanted to do was they both showcased some of the available accessories that we have and some that are coming back soon in the future, things like the ground effects and the high wing. And of course, we're going to have a new Jake Stinger hood stripe as well, which is a lot of people have asked for. So these are pretty cool looking pace cars. We also had, if you watch the Indy 500, pace car driven by our president, Mark Royce, to lead the race. And since the race ended under yellow, we could say the Corvette was the first one across the finish line as well at the end of the 500. So we'll take that. So, okay, let's go into what's new for 2021. And I just want to say first, we have extended the 20 model year to try to get as many of the orders as we had built. Because I know people have been waiting a long time through everything going, and we want to try to get as many as we can. But we've also opened up the ordering for 21. So if you were not able to get a 20, make sure you get your order in for a 21 as soon as you can.
And because you can start your 21, we wanted to go through what's new for 21. It would have been easy and maybe even smart for us to just do 21 as absolutely carryover content, same stuff, but that's not typical of us. We try to do something every year so people have maybe some different choices of what they could make. So you can see this list here. We've actually done quite a few things, and some of it's actually directly related to customer requests. So I'll go through some of the functional changes, and Harlan can talk about some of the appearance differences that you can do. So first one, and I think this is a great one. We're filling out our full menu of suspension systems. We brought out 2020 with a standard chassis with the all-season tires, and then Z51 for people who would like to track their vehicle or want all that extra content. And you had to get that to get magnetic selective ride control. So our world famous MR shocks that give you kind of the best of all worlds, compliant soft suspension when you want it, and tied down racetrack responsiveness when you want that. And then sport mode, which is kind of in between. Some people don't want to buy all the Z51 stuff. They're not going to take the car on track, but they still would like to have the ability to change the vehicle dynamics via the shock. So we've added that, made that available with the all-season tires. And so it's an option on top of FE1, so we call it FE2. So that pretty much fills out our suspension choices. Very unusual for a low-volume car to have 4 different suspension choices, but we know people really like to customize and get just what they want on their vehicles. And I should mention, when you get FE2, you get the adjustable spring seats. That's kind of a racy feature, lets you raise and lower the car or do corner balancing of the car for people who are interested in that. Next slide. So wireless phone projection. In 2020, you had to actually connect through the USB, your phone, to get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So for 2021, we've made it wireless, which is really nice. You don't have to fiddle with all the wires, having them laying around your car. Nobody likes the look of that clutter in the beautiful interior that we have. So that's really nice. You don't have to fish your phone out. You can leave it in your pocket or your purse, and it'll wirelessly connect to the car. And what I do, even on relatively short trips, I dock the phone in the wireless charger that we have between the seats. It's sometimes hard to remember it, but it's amazing how fast that'll charge your phone. So even on relatively short trips, you can kind of top up the phone's battery, and it'll be wirelessly connected to the vehicle. Next slide.
Whoops, sorry about that. I went too far. Here we go.
So I think people know we've got all these different modes on the car. We have weather, tour, sport, track, and then what we call My Mode, which is customizable, and that one holds over ignition cycles. So you set it up that way and it'll just stay that way. And then we have Z mode. And for regulatory reasons, that can't hold over a key cycle. And that's why we put the big Z button on the steering wheel. So if you want to change everything about your car, every time you get in it, we make one button availability for that. It comes as a very sporty setting from the factory, but some people like to modify it. And we've had questions like, okay, what exactly changes in the different modes? And so we thought maybe we'd do a visual screen such that when you change modes, you can see what's happening to the steering, suspension, the engine shift patterns, brake feel, engine sound, so the exhaust sound, and if you're in PTM, which level of PTM you're in. So kind of instantly you can see which features are changing and by how much. You can see they have different amounts depending on, different settings depending on which aspect of the car you're changing. And then we actually added to the cluster graphics, so those bottom three at the bottom, that's the instrument panel cluster. When you're in PTM, we give you kind of a persistent notification of which PTM mode you're in. So some people on the track, they like to go back and forth, up and down through the scale of PTM settings, and that gives you kind of continuous feedback as to where you are. Next slide. Here's one for real geeks like me, digital tack. So people don't do digital tacks very often because the engine changes speed so fast. That's why you typically do an analog type, either a sleep indicator. Anyway, you can see the video down here. You have an option to choose in the track mode if you'd like a digital tack or the normal bar graph tack. So just more options to set things up exactly the way you would like them. It's kind of fun to play with some of these things too. Next slide.
All right, let me talk about this is a new interior choice we have, and a lot of people haven't seen this yet. We haven't really shown it too much. I think yesterday was the first time we showed the full picture of it. This is our strike yellow sky cool gray interior. This will be available with the 3LT, with the leather wrap package. This is the version with the GT2 seats, and it's really a new combination. You have combines the sky cool gray with these yellow accents like we talked about, the yellow seat belts, and it really, I think, is a new dynamic, really kind of a custom level type interior worthy of a supercar. And I think, a lot of people will think it's special, and it is. So you can get this with the GT2 seats. You can also opt up for the competition seats, and we have a version of the competition seat as well, which also has the yellow accents on the car. And I do think it's really special that we're able to add these new type of interiors for this year. On the exterior side, we have the new Silver Flare Metallic, which replaced Blade Silver. Blade Silver was great color, but was out since 2009. So we really updated this silver, and it has what the designers call, it has a lot of travel. So as you walk around it, the light really affects it. It can be very bright or a little bit darker. And it really accentuates the surface of the Corvette, the surface detail. So you can really, really see the sculptural shape of the car with this color. The other new color we have is Red Mist Tint Coat. This replaces the Long Beach Red that came out back in 2016. And we've had quite a string of these red tint coat colors, which are always pretty special. This one, I think, is very fiery. It's a little brighter. I think it'll have a lot of impact. I think it's Tadge's favorite color, right? Didn't you order this on your car?
I did for our 2021 pre-production vehicle. I ordered this color after seeing it in the studio, just on a sample. Now I've seen panels painted, that done the first spray outs of the color, and it looks really, really sharp. I would say our candy apple reds, our red tint coats, have gotten maybe more sophisticated over time, maybe more subtle. I've heard people call it maroon. This is not that. This is a color that will just pop your eyes out. This picture is the closest picture I've seen that gives you kind of a feel for the lustrous reflectivity inside. So it's a red car, but it's not torch red. Torch red is a little bit flat, doesn't have flake in it. This has a ton of flake. And so like this picture shows, you get highlights off the body curves. And yeah, it's my current favorite.
I will say that we just started building our early validation build, saleable cars. And the first one is the silver flare with the strike yellow, sky coal gray interior. So I think that's going to be a really great combination. And then the second car, I believe, is a red mist tint coat with a natural interior. And then just to assure everybody, we still have our 12 colors. So the other favorites are all coming back for 21. So a total of 12 choices. And the other thing that we did expand upon are the availability of graphic packages. So if we had the racing stripes last year come out, and we thought this will be a little bit more subtle than the racing stripes, these new hood stinger stripes, available in 3 colors, the red, yellow, and midnight silver. And it just adds a nice little touch if you don't want the full racing stripe package. Just use a little graphic highlight there to the hood. So that's all new. And then speaking of the racing stripes, we did add 4 new choices. We had the 3, the silver, gray, and carbon flash. So we added 4 brighter colors to the racing stripe portfolio. So you can get red, blue, orange, and yellow. And you can see with the different combinations of exteriors, you can create quite a lot of different visual interest. I see here Kirkland Design put this together, and you can see actually he has his recommendations of what colors go with what exteriors, but you can really have fun and personalize your Corvette with different exterior and racing stripe combinations, and really have something unique. And so with the 7 different stripes and 12 different colors, there's a lot to choose from. So that's yeah. So and that's it for what's new for 21. And I think we could. I think Lance had some questions for us.
Yeah, I could finish one. It's amazing the number of choices that we have there, and that's one thing we hear when we talk to customers at events like Carlisle. And they always want something special. No matter what we offer, it seems like people have some other idea of something that they would be truly unique that they would like. So we're always trying to make the car as customizable as possible. And it's getting to the point where I've seen online people chatting about the anguish they have and trying to figure out exactly what choices to make. They struggle with it mightily. So it's a balance. We want to have as many options as possible, but we're not trying to put additional stress on our customers not being able to pick out a favorite.
There's no wrong choices, really, as long as you like it.
They're all beautiful. They're all our children.
Thanks for the presentation there. Yeah, we definitely have plenty of questions today, guys. So I'll fire them off at you and keep it as simple as possible. We'll just try and get through them as quick as we can as well, just so everybody can have their questions answered to the best of our ability. but we are going to end this at probably about 10:50 or so. So again, I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of Corvettes of Carlisle again, virtually, but we look forward to hopefully getting back to normalcy sooner than later. First question that I saw pop up was one that I hear throughout, and I'm sure you guys do as well, in regards to the trunk/frunk recall. So if either of you guys would like to hit on that.
Yeah, I can touch on that. So yeah, that's recent news. We're actually using our new electrical architecture, which allows over-the-air updating. So that's one of the great things about the new car, is that we can actually do upgrades or improvements, any kind of update over the air. And so this was an example where we saw these reports of people having the front trunk fly open at speed, usually like 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. It told us that there's something wrong. We investigated those cases and found that the car was operating properly. So the way it works is if you open the frunk, and you try to drive it, the car has a persistent chime. It's chiming at you continuously. You can't stop it. There's warnings on the display, but if you don't notice those, like maybe you have the radio cranked up, and if the trunk is open, somewhere around 35 miles an hour, the wind will catch it and open it fully. And all the reports we saw, that was the testimony that people were seeing there. There's even videos online of that. People ask, well, why is the thing allowed to open while you're moving? Well, it isn't. It's not allowed to. None of the buttons work when the car is moving. So what happens is it gets opened when the car is at rest, and then a driver can drive away and the front will open. So in investigating it further, we found that we think people were inadvertently opening it, didn't realize it was open. And from the driver's seat, you can't tell it's open. That's one cool thing about a mid-engine car. The front end falls away, so you can see the road right in front of you. That's really cool. The disadvantage, of course, is you can't tell when the front trunk is popped. And so people would drive it away. And the way it had worked is on your key fob, you'd hit it twice in succession and it would open. And we think people were doing that accidentally. In fact, recently I did it myself. I realized it was possible. I had the keys in my pocket. I was walking around and I heard the front trunk pop open. And I thought, that's funny. I didn't do that intentionally. But it dawned on us that maybe we should make it more deliberate to open it. So we changed it, and we did this over the air to you hit it and then you hit it again, and you have to hold it deliberately. So 2 quick hits won't open it anymore. You have to hit it and then hit it again really fast and press and hold it, and that'll make it open. So it seems like that's makes it a much more deliberate and less likely to happen accidentally. And then we also put in place a vehicle speed limitation. So we limit the speed to 26 miles an hour. So that's well below any of the cases that have happened. So if you ignore the chimes and ignore the warnings, you'll find that the car just won't go faster than 26. Then you'll look down at your cluster and it'll say that your front trunk is open. And so people will be able to just pull over, close it, and drive away, and all those messages will disappear and the car will work just fine. So we are keeping a very close eye on those. And we just issued that over the air. It's pretty easy to do. Customer will get a notification, like typically when they're shutting down the car, they'll get a notification that there's update. You say, yes, I accept it. It'll give you a brief description of why your vehicle is getting updated. It only takes about 5 minutes, and then the vehicles change. So we're seeing really good acceptance, even though it's only been out there a few days. A large chunk of the sold cars, the fleet that we have out there, have already accepted that change. So it's one of the really cool and modern things about the new car.
That's awesome. Well, it's funny that you just rolled into the technology side, because that's a question as well. Jeremy Welburn was asking, will any of the technology changes for 2021 be backward compatible with the 2020 Corvettes?
I'm running through them in my head.
If you want to think about it, we can roll on to the next one.
Well, I know the one a lot of people wanted was the wireless CarPlay, and I know that's actually a hardware set change. So it's not just a software change, unfortunately. That one I know a lot of people wanted, but we couldn't do.
And I know the FE2 suspension is not, that's a big hardware tear up. So the most, in general, we always try to make stuff backward compatible, but it's not always possible when we do hardware changes.
Okay, another one, you guys breezed on this a little bit in regards to, has Team Corvette already built pilot vehicles for right-hand drive C8 Corvettes for Australia and the UK?
Yeah, some of us are actually driving them around. It's very strange to be driving a Corvette with the steering wheel on the right-hand side. But yeah, we've built some and we're doing some of our pre-production testing now in the US. And the thing that's unusual about our right-hand drive, and our first market will be Japan. The car sold out almost immediately in Japan after we introduced it. So that'll be our first foray into right-hand drive. And the thing that's unusual about our cars, if you look at a lot of other cars that do left and right-hand drive, they tend to have very planar and rectangular interiors, dead flat instrument panels, square doors. You're basically sitting in a box. And the reason that's done is to make it cheaper to do a right-hand drive version, because all the stuff can just translate over. Now in our car, everything's driver focused, everything's angled towards the driver, a cockpit wraps around you. And so when you do a right-hand drive, we didn't want to dumb that down. We wanted those customers to have the exact same experience, whether it's Japan, UK, Australia. We wanted them to have that same driver focused interior. And so we actually did tool up all those unique parts that are kind of mirror shaped, so we could flip them over to the other side and it would just be an exact mirror of the rest of the world's car, the left-hand drive cars.
I really liked we got a chance to drive some of the early prototype cars at Milford. I really like the Australian car because it's all localized, and so the navigation system, the voice, she has that cool Australian voice that comes through. It's a lot of fun.
And by the way, we're getting a lot of comments, obviously thanking you guys throughout. So again, I'll extend that from everybody out there, including myself and our team. So another one was a funny one that I'd like to share, Steve, and this isn't a question, it's more of, raving about the vehicle. He went to Spring Mountain for the Corvette dealer training in December, and all he can say is this new car blew him away. So I totally agree with you, Steve, an amazing vehicle. And fortunately for places like Spring Mountain, which is a phenomenal place, if you haven't been there, go, because you will buy yourself a new Corvette, I guarantee you. And they're just great people to work with. And at the same time, you can truly see what this car is capable of, which is difficult on the street, obviously. But
yeah, and we still have the offer for new Corvettes that we had the previous generation for Spring Mountain. That's a highly discounted, down to $1,000 to go to Spring Mountain for any Corvette buyer, even on the new car. Yeah. So that continues on.
If you look around at driving schools, that really is a bargain. That's an expensive operation, having all those cars, maintaining them, owning and maintaining the track, paying all the instructors. I mean, that is an expensive operation. So to be able to get it at such a steep discount is a real deal.
Without a doubt. And as you guys are well aware, once you do a day or two, you want to do more. It's
right.
a drug in a sense, and it's just so much fun. So I encourage anybody to go to Spring Mountain. It's just a fun time. Harlan, you got another one here that was directly pointed towards you from Brian Charles. He says, Corvette Racing Yellow 22 Z06. He said he really wants to see that happen. So passing that along.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I missed it on the joke that he was a relative. What did you say? Something about the Z06?
Yeah, he was talking about he'd like to see, essentially he wants to see Corvette Racing Yellow. Oh,
okay.
Look like Velocity Yellow.
Gotcha.
Let's see here. 600 C7 Z06. Sorry, I'm reading through. There's a bunch of questions. They're obviously asking about the Z06, if you guys would like to say anything about that. And I'm sure word is mum, but nevertheless, they're out there.
Yeah, no announcement at this time.
That's a good answer, Harlan. Again, just people literally raving about their cars, that they got their C8. I want to convey that over and over because of the fact I think everybody that has their car absolutely loves it.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of these. Go ahead, Harlan.
I was just going to say, we talked about a little bit this yesterday, and we talked about the reveal, but that's really been the fun part about is seeing people, after all this work, it's been a long process to get this car out, as many know, and to see real customers have their cars and enjoy it. Even some that I think may have been skeptical about this big change that we did before it came out, and now seeing the car, driving it, having it, and just appreciating that this is a unique sports car that only we could do, combining mid-engine exotic car attributes with the things they have loved about Corvette over the years and combining them. I think it's really exciting to see the customers have their cars. And then as they post on forums or talk to their friends or whatever, it's just only going to grow from here. And we're also seeing a great excitement from a new generation of enthusiasts, where that this car is seen as the clean break from the previous. So it's their Corvette for a new younger generation also that might never have even thought about Corvette before. So this is our best opportunity ever to get the Corvette fan base growing, and that helps us. Of course, it helps you, Lance, with your events and the Corvette Museum, and just to have people enthusiastic about sports cars, especially our American sports car, is really where it's all about, really what we've been striving for.
I was remembering that when we introduced the C7 with its design language, that was kind of the first time where I saw younger people kind of sit up and take notice. They'd point at the car, they'd look at it going by. So it's like, okay, this is good. We're imprinting the Corvette. But it's nothing compared to the C7. The C7's like you're showing up in a spaceship, and all the mouths are agape as you go by. People send me pictures of their kids building their own Corvettes, like out of cardboard. They replicate the interior exactly. It becomes a mania for them. So I think that imprinting process is stronger than ever in this car. So that's really joyous for us to see. But also, we were talking yesterday about how you kind of hold your breath. Our whole team is holding its collective breath as you reveal the car, and you see the reaction. Then you put media in the car, you see their reaction. Then you get real customers in the car, you see their reaction. You're always, we work on this thing for so long, and we're so close to the details of it. We don't get to experience the big picture of it, how the whole car comes together, until really at the very, very end, when all the final production tool parts are built in Bowling Green. That's when we get to experience it. So it's a culmination of so much work, and we're so focused on the details, we don't really see the big picture. So actually the big picture is reflected back to us from the media, from the customers. And now we've done enough of these events with people who've received their cars, driven their cars for a while, and we get the feedback that it's everything we said it was going to be, and they just love it.
It's awesome. And I can convey that just, to tout a horn for you guys, because of the fact that you would never do that. But the sheer passion that not only you two have, but the entire team, it shows forth through the build of the car. And on behalf of the Corvette community, myself, thank you, because it shows. And ultimately, you're getting these raving reviews because of the passion and the love and the endearment you put forth. So thank you.
Yeah, and Lance, when we come to Carlisle, we bring like 30 people with us from Bowling Green, and we turn people away. For us, that's a business trip, even though it's like over the weekend and everything. We have lots of people raising their hand, volunteering, basically volunteering their own time to come to Carlisle and talk to customers. There's not many products in the world, none that I can think of, where the entire team of people who actually do execute the product shows up to talk to customers face to face. If almost anything else you can think of is made in China, designed by a company, they outsource their customer relations. It's kind of unique in the industry, unique in the world, that you have this confluence of real customers and real people executing their product. And I appreciate that every year when we come.
And the customers, the people who come to Carlisle or come to the other events, they're part of this car, because that's why we all go, because we don't have to do a lot of formal clinic and market research. We come to you guys and they come to us as customers, and we know right away if they love something, if they hate something. Corvette owners are not shy about giving their opinions, as we found out at any fan-based thing like that, like a sports team or a movie. A Corvette is the car version of that. And so everybody should feel prideful if they are part, every input that they give to us goes into our decisions on what we do with the final car.
Awesome. And I got one more quick question for you guys, and then we'll call it a day here. I don't mean to cut it short, but we've got other things. I know you guys are, have other things to do as well, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. But one was, and I think this is a very easy question for you guys. Does the rear view mirror camera function still work with the convertible top when it's down?
It does, but since it's attached to the roof, as it is stowed, there's nothing to see. It's dark in there. So even though technically it's working, it effectively automatically turns into a regular conventional mirror. So you might have to readjust it a little bit to aim it exactly as you like. I find myself going back and forth anyway, sometimes using it as a conventional mirror, and it's got, it's almost like an old school flip tab instead of doing the dimming operation like mirrors did a long time ago. It turns the camera part of it on and off, so back and forth between a virtual display and a real reflective visible display. And I find on the coupe and the convertible, there's times where I want to use one versus the other, and it's a pretty amazing piece of technology in conditions like rain, where the back window gets wet and you can't see a thing. You put that camera mirror on and it's sharp as can be. It's super wide angle. It's unobstructed because it's on the roof, so you can see right into your blind zones. And once you get used to that feeling of being able to see a panoramic view, I tell people it's like the roof is down and you're kneeling on your seat looking backwards. You've got that kind of view out the back end. Once you get used to that, it's hard to go back because it gives you a real confidence in driving and what's around you.
And when the convertible's down, you don't really need it as much because you have a pretty much unobstructed view behind you without the roof and the window down.
Mm-hmm. So that mirror is standard on the convertible. I should point that out. So, convertible costs more than the coupe. It actually does, besides being this folding hardtop, which is an incredibly complicated, intricate, and robust mechanism, you get other stuff like that. Mirror becomes standard with it.
Well, awesome. I can't thank you guys enough. I know that you took a lot of time to help us out this weekend. I know, and also know the time that I had reached out to you guys and said, is there any way you can help us? Obviously you can't be at the event, which we respect. You immediately were like, absolutely, we'll do anything. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. And I know everybody out there does. And again, if you guys were watching this and you have further questions or, raving reviews, what have you, feel free to leave them in the comment sections. I know that you guys look at that as well. So, and share the video as well. So we appreciate everybody for watching. Any final comments from you, gentlemen?
Well, I want to thank you, Lance, for persevering. It would have been easy to just fold up the tent for this year. I mean, you obviously have the kind of business that's extraordinarily sensitive to the conditions of the pandemic, and for you to soldier on and trying to keep people getting this experience, I think it does us all proud.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And thanks everybody for watching as well.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Have a good day.
Talk to y'all soon.
Good luck with the weather.
Oh, thank you. We need it.